Our marriage was solid until he brought home a dog that's slowly destroying everything we built. Together, 6 years, married for 3. We so far have very rarely had communication issues. Before we got married, we went to a counselor who helped us a lot. Not because we were having issues, but to make sure we were going to be able to avoid these issues. Both of us are child-free and have been talking about getting a dog. I grew up with them, but we travel a lot, so having one has not really been in the cards. He recently took a job where we won't be able to do as much traveling for about a year. Recently, he has been very excited because he feels he deserves a dog. He works away from home and I work from home. Like I said, I grew up with dogs. I do miss having one. But there are dogs who would do great without lifestyle and dogs who wouldn't. We agreed on getting a trainer if we had any issues we can't fix on our own. I am very health conscious, which extends to dogs. There are certain breeds I would never own because they have so many health issues. The other day, he came home with a bulldog puppy. This is a breed on my absolutely not list. He is about 6 months old, and he got him from a family who couldn't keep him. Already has breathing issues. He snores all day and all night. He will need soft palate surgery, and he will need his nostrils enlarged. He can't run. He will need patella surgery. Like I said, he is only 6 months old. I am so frustrated. We've had the dog for about 4 weeks, and he doesn't want to walk the dog much. He won't clean up after it. All he wants to do is take him to the dog park and pet store. He loves when people gush over how cute he is when he snorts. The dog, not my husband. We had a very big argument over the dog. He wants to let him sleep in bed with us, but I told him I would be sleeping in another room. He didn't care, and the dog has been sleeping in our bed for the past 3 nights while I have been in the guest room. During the day, he is quiet. He is a good puppy for sure. He doesn't destroy toys, and he is happy as a clam to sleep next to me all day while I work. The snoring doesn't bother me as much, but knowing he snores because he has that much trouble breathing makes me feel so bad. But I am so upset with my husband for getting a dog with so many health issues. I do not know how to address the situation without letting my temper get away with me. My husband brought home an impulse purchase. Update 1. Thank you all for the thorough responses. I read every comment you guys sent. A few months ago, I read a post where a woman sat down with her husband and outlined everything she takes care of at home in a list format. Like kitchen, trash, dishes, wipe counters down, etc. That way of communicating really stuck with me, and when we went to see our therapist, I used the same format to express how much I do for the dog. My husband told me that owning a dog was a joint effort, and since I'm home all day, it shouldn't be a problem. Which is when I realized that has been his excuse for everything. Cooking, chores, cleaning. I'm not sure how I became blind to it. I don't know when I started bending over backwards to accommodate him. We used to be a solid couple who helped each other out. I remember when I was still in school, he'd come over to my apartment and clean the whole thing for me during finals. Or he took care of my elderly cat when I was away for a week and a half. He used to help me dry the dishes, and it was always fun. We used to have so much fun and laugh all the time. At some point, it all stopped. I started crying right there in the middle of a sentence, and he got concerned. I'm not a crier. The only time he's ever seen me cry was when I had to put my beloved cat down a few years ago. But he held me for the first time in what felt like months, and we had a serious heart-to-heart about how he made me feel. Not only with the dog, but how stressed I've been with my job, how lonely I am, I don't feel important, and how we don't feel like a team anymore, that I'm worried about us. I guess it clicked for him because he really stepped up taking care of the dog. He started going into work earlier so he can come home early and hang out and make me dinner. It happened slowly over the course of the last few weeks, and the routine suits us a lot better. We hired a trainer to make sure we can understand the dog's boundaries together, and the dog sleeps in a dog bed. Our bedroom life has slowly gotten back to where it was when we got married. We're watching our favorite shows again and going out more. I've been putting my foot down more about my feelings, and he has been receptive. We are still going to therapy for now. As for the dog, we're going to keep him. Is he a no-list dog? Yes. But is he a good puppy with a big heart? Yes. We have the money to afford him, and he took off after training. It's nice having a dog again. Husband and I went to therapy. We talked through our problems. We are giving our marriage the time and attention it needs to mend. We're keeping the dog. Update 2. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. Thanks again for all your advice and kind words last time. I thought we had things under control, but, well, life has a way of throwing curveballs. So things were going pretty well for a while after our last talk. My husband was stepping up, and I felt like we were getting back to the old us. The dog was doing well too. He's been responding well to the training, and I even started getting attached to the little guy despite all his health issues. We were starting to feel like a real team again, and I thought we were in a good place. But then, a couple of weeks ago, I started noticing something weird. My husband was acting strange. Like, really strange. He was distant again, but this time it was different. He'd come home later than usual, saying he had to stay late at work. But when I'd ask him what he was working on, he'd get all vague and change the subject. He started spending more time on his phone too, and I caught him texting someone late at night. When I asked who it was, he said it was just a work thing, but his face got all flushed and I could tell he was lying. There, my gut was telling me something was off, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I mean, we'd just gotten back on track, right? Maybe I was just being paranoid. But then, last week, I found out the truth in the worst way possible. I was cleaning up the guest room where I'd been sleeping when the dog first came home, and I found a receipt from a fancy restaurant crumpled up under the bed. It was from a night when he'd told me he was working late. My heart sank. I didn't want to believe it, but all the signs were there. I tried to keep calm, but I was shaking. That night when he came home, I confronted him. I showed him the receipt and asked him straight up if he was seeing someone else. He tried to deny it at first, but eventually he broke down and admitted that he'd been having an emotional affair with a woman from work. He swore it hadn't gotten physical, but honestly, I didn't care. It was a betrayal all the same. I was furious. After everything we'd been through, after we'd worked so hard to rebuild our relationship, he'd gone and done this. I told him I needed some space, and he's been staying with a friend for the past few days while I figure out what to do. I feel like my whole world has been turned upside down. I keep thinking back to the early days of our relationship, how we used to be so in sync, and I can't believe we've ended up here. I don't know if I can forgive him for this. The trust is shattered, and I don't know if it can be rebuilt. I'm trying to take things one day at a time. I'm still working from home, and the dog has been a weird sort of comfort through all of this. He's such a sweet boy, and he seems to sense that something's wrong. He's been extra cuddly, and it's hard not to feel a little bit better when he's curled up next to me. As for my husband, I honestly don't know what's going to happen. He's been texting and calling, apologizing over and over, but I haven't responded yet. I just need some time to process everything. We have another therapy session scheduled for next week, but I'm not sure if I even want to go. Part of me thinks it's too late, that the damage is done. I'll update you all again when I have more clarity on the situation. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on taking care of myself and figuring out what I want. Thank you again for all your support. It really means a lot to me. Update 3. Hey everyone, I'm back with what I hope will be my final update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I've finally made some decisions about my marriage and my future. After I found out about my husband's emotional affair, I was devastated. I couldn't believe that the man I'd been married to for 3 years, the man I thought I knew inside and out, could betray me like that. I spent a lot of time thinking about our relationship, our history, and whether or not I could ever trust him again. I decided to go to our scheduled therapy session, even though I was skeptical. I didn't know what I wanted out of it, but I figured it couldn't hurt to at least hear him out in a neutral space. I'll admit, part of me was hoping that the therapist would have some magical words of wisdom that would make everything okay again. But when we got there, and he started talking about how sorry he was, how he never meant to hurt me, how it was just a stupid mistake that got out of hand, I realized something. I realized that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life with someone who could make a stupid mistake like that. I didn't want to be with someone I had to keep an eye on, someone I couldn't fully trust. So, right there in the therapist's office, I told him I wanted a divorce. He was shocked, and honestly, so was I. I hadn't planned to say it, but once the words were out, I knew it was what I needed to do. He begged me to reconsider, but I was done. I knew that no amount of therapy was going to fix what was broken between us. After the session, I went home and started packing up his things. It was surreal, going through all our shared belongings and deciding what was his and what was mine. But it also felt like a weight was lifting off my shoulders. I was finally taking control of my life again, and it felt good. I filed for divorce, and we're in the process of separating our finances and figuring out what to do with the house. He's staying with a friend for now, and I'm planning to keep the house. I've decided to stay here and make it my own space. It's going to be a fresh start for me, and I'm actually looking forward to it. As for the dog, well, I couldn't let him go. He's become my little buddy, and I can't imagine life without him now. He's staying with me, and I'm committed to giving him the best life possible, health issues and all. We've bonded so much over the past few months, and he's been a constant source of comfort during this whole ordeal. I've also reconnected with some old friends, and I'm starting to feel like myself again. I'm focusing on my work, taking care of the dog, and just taking things one day at a time. It's been hard, and I know there are still tough days ahead, but I'm confident that I made the right decision. I deserve to be with someone who respects me, who values our relationship, and who I can trust completely. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. It's been a roller coaster, but I'm coming out the other side stronger and more sure of myself than ever. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that sometimes you have to let go of what's hurting you to make room for something better. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Take care, everyone. And if you're ever in doubt about a relationship, trust your gut. It knows what's up.